Welcome to episode 77 of the Eat for Endurance podcast. My name is Claire Shorenstein, and I am a board-certified sports dietitian and runner based in Santa Cruz, California. I provide virtual nutrition services to new athletes of all abilities, and I host this podcast to demonstrate that there is no one-size-fits-all nutrition approach towards optimal health and performance. We're taking a little break today from endurance sports to feature a professional beach volleyball player from Team USA, Betsi Flint. She is a 6-time AVP champion, and AVP stands for Association of Volleyball Professionals, I learned, by the way, and holds a number of other awards and accolades, including gold and silver medals at several International Volleyball Federation games. She is also a mom to her 2-year-old daughter, Cora, who actually joined us quite a few times throughout our recording because, toddlers definitely don't care about podcast recordings or locked doors, which is totally fine. Been there many times myself. Betsi and I chat about her nutrition experiences as an athlete training for the 2024 Paris Olympics and the steps she has taken to balance her career and health with motherhood. I hope you enjoy this one, and for my fellow busy parent athletes out there, I think you'll find our discussion helpful or at the very least relatable. So without further ado, here is my interview with pro beach volleyball player Betsi Flint. Betsi, welcome to the Eat for Endurance podcast. How has your summer been going so far?
Thanks for having me. It's been going well. It's been super busy. We're in the middle of Olympic qualification, and we were on the road for 5 weeks, and now we're home for a month, so it's awesome. We finished our long journey with a silver medal in Montreal, Canada in the Elite 16, so that's the top 16 in the world. So it was an awesome place to kind of get in a rhythm and finish strong. And now we have a local tournament coming up, and we're really excited.
Is that the one is it Manhattan Beach, or where is
Yes,
it?
Manhattan Beach. So that's pretty much where we train, and the winner gets their name on the pier, cemented forever. So it's iconic, and they've been having it for years, and it's one of the biggest tournaments. So it'll be awesome.
Awesome. So right out the gate, I just want to be upfront. So I am a distance runner. I know very little about volleyball. My experience personally with volleyball was probably kind of traumatic in 7th grade and just being utter crap at it. That's the extent to my own experience with it. So this is a little bit new for this show because normally I'm interviewing endurance athletes, whether it's triathletes or cyclists or runners or all of that. And I'm trying to kind of branch in. When I heard your name and you got pitched for my podcast, I'm like, oh, actually, this would be really fun to interview someone who's in a totally different sport. And we'll be talking about nutrition and what that looks like for you. But you're probably going to have to explain some things to me as well.
Okay.
Even some of the stuff you just said, I was like, I don't really know what that means, but that's totally cool.
Okay, well, I can explain anything.
Yeah, no, I'm like, to kind of explain, okay, so the 16th in the world, that's I can understand. And you are part of Team USA, right?
Yes.
You're training for the Paris Olympics, I understand.
Yes, and it's 2-on-2. So we have 3 really good teams in the US, and only 2 teams get to go to the Olympics. So it's a battle against obviously the world, but against our opponents or our allies here too. So it's a battle and it's a grind, and it's your best 12 tournaments over the course of a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So it's a long journey. And so it's important to, stay on top of nutrition and recovery and all of that so you can sustain and be ready for next August.
So, okay. So, and this is what I was unclear about. So you're not even sure you're going to Paris right now, then it sounds like. Wow.
Correct.
Okay. So where are you in that process, and when do you find out?
I think we're ranked number 9 in the world, and you have to be in the top 15. We also have other US teams that are ahead of us in the world, which is incredible. We're really strong. The US is strong. So it's just going to be a battle, and it's going to come down to the end for sure, how many good finishes we can get.
And when is that 1.5 year period done? When do you actually find out definitively I am going to Paris?
Next June.
Ooh. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So
okay,
usually you kind of have an idea. Yeah, you have an idea and the points you need towards the end. But yeah, it'll be tough.
Wow. Okay, awesome. Well, that will be fun to follow along. I always like to follow along what's going on with my guests afterwards, so I'll be following up on that. So let's hit rewind now. The way I like to do these interviews is really by kind of starting with nutrition in childhood and what your memories surrounding meal times and food and just anything that you remember about growing up and food in your household, what that was like for you. So what kind of stands out for you when,
Yeah.
you think about food and meal times as, as a kid?
I grew up in South Dakota, and we never really talked a ton about nutrition, but we always, like, our traditions were around food. We had good food. We hunted. We um, grew corn. My mom had a garden of strawberries. So I have like a great foundation of just like whole foods and definitely a meat potato kind of thing. And my mom was incredible and always was feeding us. She would, as in high school, she would have a crock pot and put stuff in there because we were doing different sports. So whenever we had time to eat, it would be ready for us. And I don't know how she did it. We hardly ever ate out. And I mean, I'm a mom, I have a 2-year-old, and it's hard enough to get us fed. And she had 4 kids and somehow like cooked every meal, and we had leftovers and good food around. So I have a good memory of food in my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is hard for sure.
Yeah.
I can speak to that point, especially with toddlers. At what point did you get into volleyball, and were you involved in other sports? I mean, it sounds like you're a very active kid.
Yeah. I loved basketball. That was my thing, but I started club volleyball with friends and really got good and decided to focus on that more in high school. But I played softball and basketball up until 9th grade, and then really focused on volleyball and got recruited for indoor volleyball here in California at Loyola Marymount University,
Mm-hmm.
and started playing beach volleyball my sophomore year. It became an emerging sport, and that was kind of a dream come true. I loved beach way more than indoor, so it was awesome to play both in college and to manage 2 in-season sports.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the terrain, obviously being a difference, what are there any kind of things we should know about the difference between beach and indoor? Is it like the length of the game or any other actual fundamental differences?
Yeah, obviously it's 2-on-2. The wind is a factor, the sun, the heat, the humidity, and the sand. Sometimes it's deep sand, shallow sand. We also play multiple matches in a day. So 2 to 3 matches in a day, which is a lot, especially when we're thinking about fueling and food. Compared to indoor, it's usually one like longer match, maybe one like 3-hour match. And beach is like 2 or 3 like hour and a half matches. So that's kind of the main difference. And yeah, obviously the team size is different. So you're doing a lot more on the beach and you're always contacting the ball. There's no plays off and no substitute. Yeah.
How much time do you get between games if you have multiple games in a day?
Usually 2 hours.
Okay.
It's kind of depends. 2, I'd say, is the minimum, which can be really fast because you're trying to recover and then you got to warm up again, which we're warming up like 45 minutes before we start. And those are really hard. Those are hard turnarounds, especially we're going to play in the AVP Manhattan Beach. It's double the size of what we normally play. So you want to stay in the winner's bracket, this double elimination tournament. And if you lose it all, you're looking at maybe 3 or 4 matches in a day, which is really tough. But it's possible. I mean, you get that adrenaline, you get that determination, and you figure it out.
Yeah. And I mean, then we'll get into this later. I'm going to put a pin in this a little bit, but like part of the reason I'm asking some of this is because, a lot of the sports nutrition principles are the same when we talk about like, how many carbs and this and that and whatever, right? There are a lot of things that are transferable, but obviously there are a lot of unique things from one sport to another. And when we're thinking about, say, endurance sports, like if you're doing like an ultra marathon or something, like it's a lot of, kind of slow and steady with some intensity. But like when you're talking about a game and especially a team sport, and it's like a shorter duration and you have multiple things. And so it's a lot of like probably, more powerful, intense efforts with some rest. And then, it's just a very different type of thing that you're fueling for. So we'll definitely get into kind of how fueling may be a little bit unique to your sport versus some of the stuff I often talk about on the show, which I'm very curious about because have I had a volleyball client? No, I have not. So because I'm a sports dietitian, right? So I have not worked with a volleyball player and I've not worked with a soccer player either. And I don't know if maybe there are some similarities in terms of like those short bursts of power and strength, So it'll be really interesting to kind of talk about that. But let's go back again. I want to hear about, as you were becoming more of a competitive athlete, through high school and college, did whether it was everyday diet or performance nutrition, did that start to evolve and change as you kind of did enter that, new realm of being a competitive athlete?
Yeah, for sure. I got interested in nutrition in high school. I had a teammate that wanted to be a dietitian, and so I might get interrupted here by my 2-year-old.
Sorry. That's okay. No worries.
Here.
She does not need to break down the door.
So got really interested in nutrition then, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just learning more about, different foods. Mm-hmm. And then I think in college, I kind of got to be like really restrictive and like trying to understand, like I just didn't have a knowledge, and I had this perception of like what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat, but it wasn't necessarily accurate.
As she shoves a peach into her face. No one can see this, but her daughter is shoving like a nectarine or something into her face.
Yes, Cora loves her whole foods, which is awesome, but trying to teach her young.
Yeah.
to enjoy all the good foods.
Can you expand upon that period of restriction if you feel comfortable talking about it?
I got kava.
You got kava?
Yeah.
Yeah, she just ate some good Mediterranean food. Yeah, I feel like I was like very like judgmental of like what I should eat. Like I didn't want to eat. I thought like I wouldn't want to eat too much. I didn't want to eat pizza, like just unhealthily in a way. And eventually like I got into macro counting once I think this was more like professionally, like right out of college. I was working with a dietitian and a strength trainer, and my strength trainer he thought that I should be at a certain body composition. And that was going to like make me way better. It's going to make me jump higher and play harder. And yeah, it didn't really work for me. Like, I think it worked to an extent of like me learning, like, I really don't eat as much protein as I should. And I'm getting way too many fats. But I think having some sort of baseline is good and doing that for a short term. But I really started like seeing results in my performance when I stopped macro counting, and I just started to lift heavy and get stronger. And that was more of my focus. And part of it was like my dietitian was on my side. We got a new strength trainer who wasn't as like gung ho on the body comp. And that was really helpful, just having those people to like support me and just show me like it's okay to like not be guilty about food, like just like eat to fuel and eat to feel good. And it's not about what you look like, it's about performance. And I really felt like I was performing my best in probably, I think that was like 2019. And when I was just eating whatever I wanted to eat and focusing on my working out and my lifts and my training.
And so the macro counting wasn't so much coming from the dietitian, it was more from the strength coach, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was more from the strength coach. She was trying to help me in like a healthy way. And I think they kind of had some arguments along the way and eventually like felt like I got the support I needed. But my dietitian was very helpful in all of that and like not putting pressure on me. And I got so like intense about it that I would like weigh my popcorn I was eating, and I would ask my husband if he wanted any popcorn. He's like, no, I don't. And then he'd take a bite of mine. I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I measured that out. Like, don't eat, you can't eat it. So it got pretty intense, but I've learned, and now I feel like I have a good relationship with food, and I've learned how to fuel for like training sessions, because a typical week for us is I'm out on the sand around 7:30 and we practice until 10, and then I go straight to lifting around 10:30 to like 12. And then I'm coming home and eating lunch. So like learning how to like fuel between then for performance, and so I can feel like I have energy, because there was a time where I felt like I just didn't have the energy for lifting after training, because I was eating just a bar instead of like a bar and a protein shake or a smoothie or stopping to get a sandwich. So I've learned a lot over the years.
Are you still working with a dietitian now, or
yes?
That was
yes,
okay.
Working with
That's awesome.
Brooke Wyatt. She works with USA Volleyball with us. So she's
Oh,
been awesome.
nice.
And she provides like
Awesome.
smoothies for us like 3 times a week.
Awesome.
And peanut butter and jelly, and stocks us up with electrolytes and all the things. So
Brilliant.
yes, she
Love it.
she's going to go on maternity leave soon, and I don't know what we're going to do without her.
Oh no. Do you have someone filling her place?
I don't know. I think some people will help, but we won't, get as much.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find ways to do it myself and recreate it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we started touching on this a little bit, but in terms of like what unique challenges or unique nutrition strategies apply to beach volleyball, right? And again, like there's a lot of the same stuff. Like you need to fuel up for your training and for games. You have to recover, you have to hydrate, with like, it's all the same things. But what I'm not familiar with is like during a game or during training, like how much, what opportunities you have to like hydrate or, to grab fuel or to do all those things. So maybe you can kind of shed some light on what does fueling look like for, maybe we're talking more performance nutrition specific stuff. So like, especially in competition, for instance, because I imagine in training, like it's a little bit, you'll have more breaks and stuff, but like in competition, like, what does that look like fueling yourself? Like, do you have to go, or do you get breaks in the game to kind of grab a drink? Are you going for more liquid calories? Like, what does that look like?
For tournaments, I've found that it's really hard for me to like eat a lot, like big meals between matches. So I've learned to like wake up early and get a really good breakfast in if I can. It's hard if we have like a 9 a.m. game or anything earlier. Then I feel like I'm just trying to consume whatever I can when I can. But yeah, I've learned to kind of like get a big bowl of oatmeal and load it with chia seeds and almond butter and all the good things, just lots of carbs. If I have extra time, then maybe some eggs and toast and bake, something maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say heavier, but like, I'll hold on to it a little bit longer.
Yep.
And then, learning like what I can stomach, like peanut butter and jellies are my go-to. They're easy. Usually tournaments provide some sort of food, like they'll have a theme, like a Mexican theme, but I can't always like eat
Mexican
rice and beans or, like meat. Like just doesn't sound appetizing, especially when it's hot.
Yeah.
So it's nice for after the matches or as soon as we're done. And I share some of the food with my family, with my daughter. But the peanut butter and jelly is a staple. And for me, I don't like consuming electrolytes while I play. It makes me feel like a little nauseous, like during matches, but I can have it like an hour or so before or the night before. Cramping isn't necessarily an issue for me, knock on wood, but I definitely am getting the electrolytes in at some point, just not like while I'm playing.
Are you drinking water then, or what are you drinking?
Yeah, lots of water.
Are you not a very like heavy or salty sweater? Do you think that's why, or are you not sure?
I'm not sure. We're gonna do sweat testing last week, but I never got an opportunity. I don't think I'm super salty sweater, but I feel pretty good and fueled on tournament days. So that's been working, just consuming those electrolytes like after the match or that evening.
Yeah. Are you reaching for any like calories during a match? So it's called a match, not a game.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Match,
yeah.
sorry.
A match. Yeah.
Wrong terminology.
No, I mean, it's interchangeable.
Yeah. Okay.
I typically don't. Sometimes like right before like a warm up, I'll have some sort of like carb, whether it's a Z-bar or gummies or the honey stinger. And I've been trying to do that more this year. And I feel like it's really helped me during matches. The times I've eaten like during a match, I feel like I lose. Maybe it's a superstitious thing, but I feel less fueled. So I don't feel like it's necessary unless like I feel really hungry. My partner, on the other hand, she likes to have the applesauces during matches. It just helps her feel more fueled. So I think it's dependent on the person. Just doesn't necessarily work for me unless I feel like I really need energy.
Yeah. And I mean, the matches are short enough. Like they're an hour or shorter. Is that right?
Yeah, it depends on if you go 2 or 3 sets, but I'd say about an hour.
Okay. So it's kind of short enough that as long as you're going into it very well fueled and hydrated, and then you're doing a really good job of recovering between the matches, that you can kind of get away with not necessarily taking on calories during.
Yes.
If that works for you, of course.
And for sure, like right after, I'm trying to get like a protein shake in, a bar, before even interacting with anyone, just to get fuel in, and then go make a PB&J or figure out when our next match is and eat more food, more real food if I can.
Yeah. And has this been something that's been kind of changing over time? Because you've been a professional for 8 years now? Or how long you've been
Sounds
doing
about
this?
right. Yeah.
8-ish
Like
years?
2015. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you've been professional a while. Do you feel like it took some time to kind of figure out your, kind of magic combination of things?
Yes, definitely. I feel like the breakfast was a game changer for me because it was hard. I felt like my body would just kind of like go without fuel and I'd be okay. And then I would eat dinner and my stomach would just be all crampy and bloaty from like not eating anything all day. Um, so yeah, it's definitely evolved and changed, and I'm still learning and trying to implement things that our dietitian suggests or that I hear from podcasts. I love nutrition. I wanted to be a dietitian.
Oh,
Fun
cool.
fact, but never worked out with like my major. I thought about going to grad school, and then I started professionally, and I don't think I want to go back to school.
No. I went back to school as a career changer, and let me tell you, it is rough.
Yeah.
Especially becoming a dietitian. It's a long road.
Yes.
But it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. So now it's just it's a hobby for me now.
Yeah. What do you feel like are the challenges you're still working on in your own performance nutrition? We'll get into the everyday stuff in a bit, but just specific to performance when it comes to like matches and training and all that.
Yeah, for sure. The consuming some sort of like pre-workout fuel. That's what I've been working on. And I feel like I'm in a good rhythm with that. Consuming some just like carbs before we start warming up. I think the challenge is being a mom. So being at home and making sure I'm eating enough, because I'm usually like saving food for her. And then you start doing things, or, just it gets crazy, and she's super active. So we're always on the go. So I feel like on the road, I'm eating a lot of good meals and taking time to recover. And at home, I'm eating less. So I want to keep working on like making sure I have some sort of meal plan or idea of what I'm either cooking or going to get. That's what I'm caught up in all the time, is like, oh no, we've got to eat soon. I have nothing planned. Didn't go to the grocery store. Do I Postmates food? Do I go get food? So that's the challenge I'm working on currently while I'm at home. And I think that could make a difference while I'm here.
So you're in LA then?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have probably lots of takeout options and stuff down there.
Yeah, we do have a lot of good options. It's hard to get back in a rhythm of cooking when I'm on the road for like 6 weeks. You get so spoiled.
Where are you going when you're traveling?
We went to Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
And then Portugal. And we went to 2 Canada tournaments, and then Atlanta, and then came home.
And so you feel like eating while on the road is better and it's less challenging than when you're at home, it sounds like.
I think so. Just the timing of it. Tournament provides food once we start, but that's always a challenge because I don't eat dairy. So if it's not well labeled, like usually my partner's the same way, so we can go out and get something. It's obviously more convenient if it's there, but we find we enjoy good, healthy food options like fresh food and whole food. So it's fun to like find new restaurants and new things, but it's definitely a challenge in some locations. And we do pack a lot of snacks, a lot of food to hold us over in between, or if we don't have time to like get lunch before our match, we have plenty of bars, protein shakes, oatmeal, nuts, all the things we're bringing just so we're prepared. And you never know if you like get sick or you don't feel good. You just want to eat your own food. So we come prepared.
And does your team dietitian travel with you guys too?
No, not always. To a couple tournaments, which is really helpful, but not to everything.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Why don't you eat dairy?
It upsets my stomach and I get headaches. And I didn't
Ah.
realize this until, I was having stomach issues, eliminated it, and realized that headaches every day aren't normal. And I am
Mm-mm.
just a way happier person when I don't have headaches and I'm not eating it. So I don't have a problem avoiding it. I don't miss cheese. My favorite food is pizza with no cheese. I do get strange looks, but I love like just lots of sauce, lots of toppings. So yeah, I've just learned to eat what makes me feel good, and that's most important. I had a birthday, and
I
this
saw that. Happy
weekend,
birthday.
thanks. And we went out to ice cream, and I was like, it's my birthday. I'm getting 2 scoops of ice cream, and they were huge. And I ate it all because I was just determined, and I felt so sick. I'm like, why do I do that to myself? This is just a reminder. Like, I don't enjoy feeling that way. So it's always good to like just feel what you're feeling and then learn from it so I don't do it again.
Well, I will say 2 things. Number 1, sometimes people just love food so much, even though they know it'll make them feel sick, it's worth it to them. And some people don't feel that well, and it's never worth it. But the other thing is they have some really good non-dairy ice creams out there these days. I mean,
I did do a non-dairy ice cream, but it still made me feel sick.
Really? Yeah. A non-dairy ice cream made you feel sick?
I just ate too much. It was...
okay, got it.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable in the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a vegan one.
Yeah, okay, so you have to get vegan. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there are other options for you to treat yourself.
Yes.
But I think that just that highlights the point where sometimes, like people will be like, I don't feel good when I eat bread. And then it's like, dude, you ate, like, a ton of bread. No one would feel good eating that much bread or something, something along those lines. So it just, there is such a thing as just like too much of something, and you just have to kind of, as you say, listen to your body and what you're feeling and what makes sense for you. Circling back to the performance nutrition for 1 minute, you mentioned a few products like the honey stinger and what other products do you tend to be reaching for? Are those things that are like sponsors of yours? Do you just kind of choose a bunch of stuff that you like?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work for you in your world?
Go Macro is a sponsor of mine.
Ooh, I love Go Macro.
I know. I love them. I fell in love with them and very grateful that they decided to sponsor me. I do have a code
those things
for
get
discount.
expensive.
Yeah, discount code Betsi10.
Nice.
BETSI 10. You get 10% off online. So those are great because they're plenty of calories, good amount of like carbs, fats, protein. Those are great.
My toddler's obsessed with those.
Yeah.
Like,
my toddler loves them too.
I get the little mini ones sometimes, but I try to eat them for myself, and she just completely like tears it out of my hand. And I'm like, okay, cool. Great. That was my snack.
Yeah. That's definitely, a go-to. I do have collagen. At USA Volleyball, they have a lot of the clean products.
Oh, Clean Athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. So use the collagen, magnesium, like the joint support, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Other brands. They give us the honey stingers, which are great. I enjoy simple carbs.
What about electrolytes? What do you use for that? Or protein shakes?
I use Liquid IV. I really enjoy them. I like that it has some carbs, sugar.
Yep.
I'm not afraid to eat like the sugar. I think some people
sure.
Yeah, want to avoid that, but I think it's great.
Yep. I agree.
What else? What other products?
You mentioned the smoothies with like protein shakes or things like that. What do you use for protein?
Like Orgain protein powder. Get it at Costco.
They're a good brand. Yeah, totally.
My toddler will eat it by the spoonful.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know how. We'll get it out, and she'll ask for a bowl of protein powder.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, this is disgusting, but here's a little. So, it's good if she'll eat it.
Yeah. That's like my toddler doesn't eat Kodiak cake mix by itself, but she's like obsessed with the frozen waffles and just like the mix generally. I'm like thinking to myself, it's probably not good for her to be getting this much protein powders between the bars and everything.
Yeah.
So I try to like watch how much, but she eats it every day. She loves it.
Cora's high into protein right now. She loves meat protein shakes. I don't know how good that is for her, but
see, mine won't eat, and like she'll eat chicken nuggets. She's a very selective eater. She eats chicken nuggets, and then her probably only other protein source is like the Kodiak cake mix products and protein bars. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just let you eat that because you eat nothing else.
That's great.
It's so hard. Especially as a dietitian, it really sucks having a toddler that basically doesn't eat anything. But you know what? Such is life. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Do you ever use like gels or things like that, or not so much?
Not really. If
Yeah.
I were like, if I needed quick energy, I would go for more of an applesauce or the baby food
Yeah.
pouches.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So those instead of, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Um, and it sounds like you eat a pretty, like there are no other restrictions in your diet other than the dairy. Like what does a typical day of eating look like for you? Just when we're talking like the everyday eating. And of course I realize it will shift based on are you traveling or not, but let's say when you're home, for instance, what might a typical day look like?
Yeah. Usually, I'm sure I'll miss things, but breakfast is like a loaded oatmeal or the eggs and toast, like we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
fruit, all that sort of thing. I will refuel with, yeah, a smoothie, a macro bar, um, something like that to hold me over through my workout. And then I come home and eat a good lunch. My husband got me piccaya today, which is like a fresh, healthy Mexican.
Mm.
So like beans, rice, chicken, um, salsa, pretty
Mm-hmm,
simple.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I'm cooking, which I need to get back into, um, we usually make like a ground beef, like either spaghetti sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I love roasting vegetables. I love nutritional yeast, and a good seasoning on like cauliflower or broccoli is amazing, and like
Mm-hmm.
olive oil or avocado oil. So that would be the go-to for dinner. Um, Lately, I've been loving curry though, coconut curry. I think it's great. Vegetables, get some good
Mm-hmm.
fats, good protein, got your
Mm-hmm.
carbs in there. Very well balanced. I do try to expose my daughter to all the things. She is slowly becoming a little bit more selective. And I don't know if it's on me or what, but I'm trying to like
It's
get her to
not
branch
natural.
out. Yeah. And she'll like grab a head of cauliflower and eat it. So that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
But lately it's been avoiding broccoli. So I don't know, I try to have well balanced things and hopefully can influence her along the way, but it's out of our control.
Yeah, I mean, kids typically become more selective at one. I mean, my 3-year-old now, she used to eat everything under the sun, and then like switch just flipped, and she became more. Oh, I hear she heard her name. She's trying to get in again. Hey everybody, if you're enjoying this episode, you can support me in a few ways. So first, I'd like to announce that I finally have some really cool new gear that you can buy to support the show. I have some great stickers. They're 4x2 branded stickers. I also have some really awesome trucker hats that are coming in early December that you can pre-order now. And for a limited time, if you buy a hat, I'll throw in the sticker. Everything's free shipping, and all purchases go towards supporting me and this show. So I really would appreciate if you buy it. And of course, you get some really awesome gear in return. Of course, if you're subscribing to the show, if you haven't already done so, and rating and reviewing, sharing with your friends, all of that really, really helps. And lastly, of course, I have a Patreon page that you can visit. I'll link to all of this in my show notes as well as in my Instagram profile. And lastly, an Amazon storefront and general affiliate links. You can find all of that on my shop page on my website. Again, all of this really does help support the show. So thank you so much, and let's get back to the episode.
Okay.
She's like, it's my turn to talk.
I know. Too bad people can't see her. They're like, why are they pausing and not talking?
It's all good. It's all good. It's, this is how it goes. I mean, and do you actually I have one more question on the everyday eating. Are you ever having like a post-dinner snack or trying to get a little more protein in at night or something like that?
We do smoothies, not usually after dinner. Hey, we make smoothies all the time, don't we?
She's like, no, I just eat the protein powder.
I know, which I love because, I mean, it's filling for me. It's filling for her.
Yeah.
I love post-dinner dessert. Have you had those JoJo's chocolate bars?
No, I haven't.
Those are Hey. Santa, I'm sorry.
It's totally fine.
But I love desserts. So finding some sort of like dairy-free dessert, I always find time for it, and I always bring it on the road. It makes me happy.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever do like lactose-free? Oh, she's so sad.
Good old lure by the phone. I'm sorry.
It's totally
This usually go a little more smoothly, but
it's fine. This just means more work for my husband. I make him edit my stuff,
shoot.
so You'll just have
Sorry.
to edit out. It's fine. No worries. What were we talking? Oh, we're talking about desserts. You're telling me about some sort of JoJo something.
Yeah, JoJo's chocolate. They're great. They've got a little protein in them, not enough to be significant, but makes me feel better about it. Yeah, I've always find some sort of like those unreal chocolates, something to make me happy, to help my sweet tooth. Yeah. I don't try the lactose free stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done I've had some G2G bars that have whey protein, and recently tried some whey protein powder just to see if it was mental.
Well, in theory, whey should be okay. But yeah, how did you react to it?
I think because I haven't had it in a while either, but I totally looked pregnant. Like, it just made me bloated. And I was like, I don't really care to reintroduce it. So,
yeah. But sometimes I find... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if I reintroduce it and had small amounts, I'm sure it'd be fine.
Yeah, I was just going to say that sometimes with whey protein, I find that if I'm blending it, and especially if I'm putting ice and I'm really blending it, it gets really whipped up a lot. That can even, I have no trouble dairy, but I can feel a little bloated and gassy after that, just because it's there's so much air in there from, I think, it being whipped up, But in theory, whey protein should be fine. And your dairy issue, I mean, I don't know if it's a lactose thing or not, or lactase, I guess. But yeah, okay, awesome. And I mean, we've seen Cora many times in this podcast. And heard her, I guess we've heard her is really, because this will not be a video thing. And you had her when's her birthday? She's 2.
The end of January. She's 2.5.
End of January. Okay, 2.5. Okay. And I know that must have had a big impact on everything. I know it certainly has on me, and I'm not a professional athlete, but yeah, how has that kind of impacted you and your nutrition? You've described already some challenges of just eating enough, and obviously you're caring for another human being. But yeah, maybe you can just talk about kind of motherhood as an athlete and kind of trying to balance that with obviously your, career aspirations with the Olympics and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge. Before I had all this time, I could come home and put my feet up and watch Netflix if I wanted and recover and be on my feet cooking. It's just different challenges for sure. Especially, I mean, I was nervous getting pregnant. Will I be able to come back and play professionally? Will I want to? So I'm grateful that I still have that competitive edge and desire. And I think me being away training and doing stuff for myself makes me a better mom. So when I'm here, I'm way more present and I can focus on just being a mom. So that's been a nice outlet. And obviously she's changed my why, and I'm way more purposeful with what I'm doing with my time. It's really hard to be away and to travel. We've had moments where she's mad at me and doesn't really talk to me and wouldn't go to me for a week, which is really hard. It was very nice in the nighttime when she was up, though, I will admit. She just went to my husband, so that was great. But yeah, it's just changed my purpose, and hopefully she can look back one day and see me chasing my dreams and pursuing what I'm doing and giving it my all, and she can be inspired. And it might take some time, but one day I hope she can look back and see that.
Yeah. Do you guys have help with childcare, or how do you or I don't know what your husband does, but how do you balance all of that?
Yeah, we don't live near family, so that's really hard. My husband coaches basketball and manages a basketball facility, so he works evenings. So I get all my training done in the morning while he watches her. And then we swap, soon after this, we'll swap and he'll go to work. So it's been nice, just the balance of that and not having to pay for daycare and childcare. That's really expensive. But it's hard because we don't see each other as often as we would like. Luckily, my mother-in-law does come in when I'm traveling, and she works remotely, so she can work remotely in the morning and help in the evenings when my husband goes to work. And that's been incredible. Definitely couldn't be on this journey without her help. And obviously my husband being almost a stay-at-home dad, he'll take a lot of time off too and stay with her. And I don't know many men who are willing to do that, but it's really awesome that he really embraces it. And he sees that this is a small chunk of time that he gets to spend with her. And She's going to grow up and that's going to go away. So it's pretty cool to see him and her have this incredible bond. She's definitely a little daddy's girl. And it's pretty cute.
Yeah. How much do you usually have to travel? You mentioned you're away for I think you said 5 weeks. Is that something that happens frequently or not so much?
I'd say that was the biggest chunk of time that I'll be away. Usually it's about a week for international stuff, which is maybe once a month or twice a month. And then for AVP, like our domestic tour, we're gone for 3 to 4 days. So that's better. And I'm trying to convince them to come to some tournaments and hang out because my family gets to come. But it's hard, with a toddler to travel, and
yes,
they're not on a schedule really anyway. And she stopped napping, so that makes it hard. But
yeah.
And being in the sun all day, so
that age was probably the most horrible for my family, at least when my little one was that age. My older one was a little bit calmer, let's just say. Actually, they're both hard. What am I talking about? But the little one in particular, traveling, I think it was it was a year ago. So it was around 2.5, was we basically were we're never doing this ever again. And then this year it finally calmed down. So it does get better, I promise.
Okay, good. Yeah, no,
but it's pretty rough, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think it depends also on what kid you have. Everyone has a different, a different child with a different temperament. And, but yeah, I can imagine that as a professional athlete, when you're really trying to dial everything in, including sleep, including stress, and just focusing everything, it must be so hard to have, you want to have family support, but then at the same time, it can be so distracting because you're trying to care for yourself, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can speak to that. Yeah. Have you ever traveled with them for any competitions or no?
Yeah, they recently came to Atlanta, and they're going to come to AVP Chicago in a few weeks. Okay. And usually I get a different room from them because she's never been the best sleeper. So that's really helpful. Usually me and my beach volleyball partner stay together so we can just stay focused.
Sure.
But it is hard because I selfishly want them for when we have off mornings or some downtime. But then there's still that part of my brain that's always turned on that I don't get to relax. So that's a little bit stressful. But it's cool to have her out in the crowd and she can watch. Not like it really matters to her, but it feels like it's important to me. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. And so let's talk about home now. So you were talking about, not feeding yourself enough is the challenge, or maybe sleep is an issue. How are you kind of learning to handle these changes in your routine now? Whether it's, you mentioned smoothies, or I don't know if your dietitian has worked on some of these challenges with you. What are kind of your strategies to figuring that out?
Yeah. I mean, sleep's a big issue, which I don't have control over at home.
Yeah.
But it's something I just have to be aware of in my training, and I've learned not to complain about not sleeping. It's just reality. So yeah, that's just something I have to overcome, and it's just part of being a mom and working and dealing with that. But yeah, we've talked to dietitian in the past, and just meal planning is one of the biggest things. And again, this is something I'm still working on. I can still improve. And that's the biggest thing, is having a plan or having leftovers in the fridge that I can just pop in the microwave and make it easy. And I always have a bar on hand, so I'm able to eat. It's just, I personally think I spoil my dinners sometimes by having a bar too close to mealtime. So I try to manage, hey, I don't want to eat this bar because I'd rather have a really good dinner than just have a bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, part of the reason I asked this question is because I know, even for myself, I mean, I'm a dietitian, and I still am a human being who struggles with these things, even though I know what to do, right? You get distracted, you get kind of pulled into life and your kids and whatever. But also I see this a lot in my clients who are not professional athletes, but they are training and they're competitive for themselves, and they're working, they have kids, family, they have all these things going on, and it's really easy to prioritize everyone else and prioritize training, but then the nutrition kind of gets left to the side, So I don't know if you have it from your own experience, just things you've learned. It sounds like meal planning's the big one. It sounds like
Yes.
having some snacks on hand. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you would say just that you've learned for yourself?
Regarding,
that you would,
yeah, definitely buy your kid the kids meal. I like get cheap and I'm like, I just don't want to buy that. But it helps me to just like, I can eat my meal and I don't have to worry about sharing or waiting to see if she wants more because she didn't eat now. She might eat it later. And so that's been huge for me. And then she'll have a meal later on and I don't have to worry about her and I can just kind of cook for myself or I can order food for myself. That's a big one for me as a mom recently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, in terms of what's coming up for you, obviously the Olympics, well, hopefully that happens, but that's a ways from now. And you have all these different tournaments coming up. Is there anything else that you want to share with us or any other like life lessons, especially as it relates to nutrition that you want to share with my audience?
Yeah. Well, regarding tournaments, you can follow me on Instagram at Betsi Flint, BETSIFLINT. And I'm always posting about how we're doing and upcoming like tournaments, times where you can watch us. So you can follow along there. And if you have questions, you can DM me for anyone listening. I'd say a big one for me is not comparing myself to other people and just focusing on myself and doing what I need to do for myself. And it's easy in our sport to get caught up in how someone else is performing or how their finishes are compared to yours, but staying focused on my path and my journey because everyone's looks so different and we might end up in a similar place, but our journeys are going to be completely different. So keeping that perspective, which is really hard in the moment, but to step back and just focus on myself and not worry too much about other people around me.
Yeah, awesome. Are there many other moms in your sport? Like, do you feel like you're in good company or are you not, or you kind of feel lonely in that?
Right now in the US, I'd say one of the only ones competing right now.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
there were definitely moms before me that like competed at a high level and reached out to me and, helped me and gave me advice along the way. And other countries like Brazil have a lot of moms um, traveling and competing at a high level. So there's a ton around the world. I think domestically, just a handful, but not too many. So I hope to inspire young women to like continue to pursue their dreams and they can have kids and continue to play. It is a challenge and there's added things to learn, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah.
Yeah. Any advice that you were given that you want to pass along to my listeners?
Ooh.
Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I was struggling, especially initially, like traveling and being away. And um one of my friends who coached me and she still continues to coach, Megan Schmidt, Megan Owusu, she told me like, okay, like Cora's going to be healthy, she's going to be safe, and she's going to strengthen her bond with her dad. And those are like one of the most important things you can focus on when you're away. Um, and that really helped me like when I'm gone. Like it's not about me necessarily, but just keeping that perspective like, hey, she's healthy, she's safe, she's loved. Like that's all that matters. Like we're going to get through this hard time. We're going to get through like not being together, and in the long run, like hopefully this inspires her.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Thank you. All right, we're just going to wrap things up and I'll get you on your way with my quick bites questions. What is your favorite post-tournament meal or snack?
Ooh, I love pizza. I mentioned that. I think that's a go-to. Just it's great to refuel with all the carbs and the good toppings. So that would be my go-to.
Do you add a protein to that or you just do the pizza?
Yeah, no, I have like sausage, pepperoni. If I'm feeling it, some chicken. Like if you go to Blaze Pizza, you can add all sorts of things.
Awesome. What is, if I say worst race nutrition experience, or not race, I mean tournament, sorry. Worst tournament, game, match, whichever. Nutrition experience, does something come to mind?
Um, hmm. I don't know if it's the worst experience, but I remember being in Cuba. It was either Cuba or the Cayman Islands we were playing, and it was so hot. I felt like I couldn't stomach anything. and we're in the shuttle, and one of the Cuban girls is like eating a Snickers and drinking a Coke. And I'm like, what? What are you like? She offers me some. I'm like, no, like, are you nuts? And now I look back and I'm like, okay, those are like simple carbs for the most part and probably fueled her. So it wasn't a terrible decision. But yeah, I was very shocked when I saw that.
Got it. What is the most exotic or interesting food that you've ever tried since you travel quite a bit?
Ooh. You know what? I've tried alligator in the South.
Did you like it?
It's chewy, not really a big fan, but I didn't not like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most exotic, but that's not international food.
That's okay. However you want to interpret these questions is totally fine.
Okay.
How do you like your eggs cooked?
Ooh, I like them fried, like over medium.
What is your favorite beverage?
Liquid IV, water. What else do I drink?
Liquid IV. That might be the first time someone's mentioned an electrolyte drink as their favorite.
I'm like, what else do I drink? I have some like flavored
what do you
water.
Crave? Okay.
Yeah.
If someone were like, what do you crave right now? What would you answer? It can be water. That has been an answer too.
It's gotta be water. I mean, sometimes water gets boring. I can add some flavored water powder.
Yeah,
from Just Ingredients. I love her. Do you follow Just Ingredients?
No, I haven't.
She's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll check it out. What are your comfort foods?
Definitely pizza's a comfort food. Sometimes you just want like a good burger, some fries, something hearty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite dessert since we're not doing ice cream?
Yeah. Vegan ice cream. I love like peanut butter cups. The Unreal dark chocolate peanut butter cups. Those are amazing. Nice. Travel with them everywhere.
What are your top 3 items of gear that are most essential to your active lifestyle?
Gear, not food.
Yeah, gear.
Hat, sunglasses, and sunscreen. That's gonna keep me going.
I mean, yep. Normally, because you're barefoot, right? Like,
we're barefoot, and I'm trying to not be in the sun if I can, but it's inevitable, so gotta stay protected.
Yep. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Betsi. This is awesome getting to know you. Where can everyone find you online, or I don't know if you have a website or anything else you want to mention? Yeah,
Instagram is the main place, which I mentioned before, at Betsi Flint, and you can find me there. I appreciate you having me. And dealing with Cora coming in, I appreciate that. You know what it's like.
I 100% do. I mean, thankfully, I have like 2 locked doors behind me, so if they're home, they cannot get in. But I've been there. Awesome. Well, good luck with your, journey to hopefully go to Paris, and I look forward to following your journey and seeing where that all leads.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's our show for today. Thank you so much, Betsi, for chatting with me, and I wish you the best of luck on your journey to compete in the 2024 Olympics. All right, calling all recreational athletes, do you want to share your story on my podcast? Do you think you'd be a good fit for this show? If so, I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Eat for Endurance. You can send me a message there just with a little background information. You can also email me, claire@eatforendurance.com. And again, just give me a little background on what your journey has been like and why you think that your story would be worth sharing on the show. I've heard from many of you that you really enjoy the Recreational Athlete Nutrition Profile series and you want me to keep that going. So I'd love to hear from you guys. I am searching for more guests, and I'm going to keep going with the professional ones as well, but I do really want to include more recreational athletes' stories. So please reach out. Also, just another announcement that I am accepting new clients for the fall. This episode probably isn't coming out until later in October, But if you would like to work with me and become a private client, I am offering more slots for my one-to-one nutrition coaching work. So please reach out. Still, again, you can email me, claire@eatforendurance.com, or reach out on Instagram. There is a form you can complete on my website to just inquire and see if we'd be a good fit. You can also book a free 10-minute call to, again, see if we'd be a good fit to work together. And lastly, you know what I'm going to ask. If you're enjoying my show and you want to keep these episodes coming, the biggest way you can support me is by subscribing to my show, sharing it with others, and rating and reviewing it wherever you listen. I really, really appreciate it. And of course, if you want to financially support me, I do have a Patreon page. You can donate $1, you can donate $5, whatever you want. You can do one time, you can do monthly. I have some Amazon links on there as well. All of that helps support all of the work I pour into producing this show. I really appreciate anything you donate or any other ways you help me. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you all next time.